Good deal. Hey everyone, Kevin Thompson here, and I'm live with Joe Martinez, CEO at IX Global. Joe, thanks for being flexible and working with me on the time, and I really admire you for just being willing to come out here and just chat about what's
Yeah,
going on with the business.
yeah, for sure. I as well appreciate the opportunity. I know, we were just chatting a little bit, and for me, it is been a crazy last 90 days, and getting through some of the nuances of legal proceedings, which is completely new to me. It's been a educational experience, and I just appreciate the opportunity. I know we kind of chatted back and forth at the beginning when the allegations first came out, and I've been kind of patiently waiting for this opportunity just to discuss with you and get the word out to the industry, kind of who we are, what we're doing, the intentions that we've had. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you and your platform.
Sure. Yeah, I do remember you reaching out. I had no idea who you were. I thought you were some random guy asking for an interview, and I remember being a little salty. I said,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But here we are. So look, I was really critical early when the lawsuit hit, and you guys had a really profound victory with the injunction being dissolved, which was a
Yeah.
major victory for you guys. I'll start by asking you, how's your business now that the weight of that injunction is off your back? Let's
Yeah.
start there.
To be honest with you, it is I think all business, at every time there's a struggle, but there's an extra struggle going on right now, right? The irreparable harm that's been kind of tossed against us because of the TRO versus just maybe a normal Wells notice investigation. Like it's harmed us so much. And as you know, well, you might not know me yet, but I'm not the type of person to, go and take money. I'm a former military guy, so I look at things as triage, right? How do we stop the bleeding? And what we did is we lowered our prices to, the lowest possible price point that we could. We made our compensation plan for the people that wanted to stick with us. We made it even easier to make money. Basically, virtually took away every single qualification requirement or volume requirement or anything of sort in the tree or in the compensation plan, so people could continue to make money during this tough time. Because in today's age with the internet, you just put IX Global in Google and you're going to come up with all the SEO stuff's going to be all the press releases first, and the government doesn't go and retract any of the things that they've said about you. And so it's been tough. We're pivoting as much as we can. We are looking to see what's going to happen with the entire overall case of the proceedings. The victory that we had is just one step, one small step in the entire overall case. And so it is it's struggling, just to sum it up. But there's a lot of the one thing about me is I love the struggle, I love the fight, and I always tell people, look, champions are made in a moment of crisis. And to us, this is a moment of crisis. And just because we're struggling doesn't mean tomorrow morning we don't hit it off and launch something big. And it is it's life-changing again, right?
Yeah.
So
Running a business is not hard, from one business owner to another. We've got 40 lawyers, and 2 decided to leave recently, right?
Yeah.
So it's never an easy day in the office when you run your own shop. I want to commend you for 2 things. Number one, thank you for your service to the country. I really find that admirable, and I could tell you still take care of yourself. So thank you. And then also, just for being willing to chat. I think it's a massive mistake for CEOs under this kind of stress to listen to lawyers. No offense to your counsel, I don't even know what they're saying to you.
No, they actually were pretty. He's probably listening to this right now. They were really. They told me do it, but let's prep for it.
Well, here's the deal. You got to run a business, and
Yep.
a lot of lawyers don't understand our business. It's built on relationships and trust. And if the CEO goes dark, there's less trust in the field, and they're less inclined to participate in your business. So you got to
Yep.
talk.
Yeah.
Let me go to the Debtbox product that led to this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick answer. What percentage of sales was that part of your business? Was it a major driver?
Well, so it was about 60%. So of the,
Okay.
we did about 200 and
You
okay.
answered the question. That's all I needed. All right.
Yeah.
It's a big, because from my perspective over, I guess, the past year, I've seen promotions, and whether technically it's a security or not, let's set that aside. Just the way that I saw it promoted was, hey, here's a great opportunity to buy something that spits out cash. And that's just my anecdotal experience, just seeing how it's promoted in the field. And I know that's not how you guys teach, and you guys are young and you didn't have the compliance chops to maybe catch that sort of stuff, but that was the flavor that I observed, is that you buy these things and these things spit out token, and the token value is tied to some other entity that creates value for the token, right? Can you give me, in your words, how the Debtbox piece worked? And then we can kind of cut into a little bit the SEC's argument here.
For sure. Well, obviously,
and I know you're not currently selling it anymore, but just how did it work?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of nuances in there. And as you know, the devil's in the details in a lot of these things, right? Like I could currently go on to Amazon and purchase a Bitcoin miner, and that Bitcoin miner spits out Bitcoin, which is a commodity, right? Tied to
Okay.
that
Now,
commodity.
I'm not going to give you the floor unlimited. So when
No,
you say Bitcoin, that's a decentralized network. And so the SEC, and it's not law, but they've sort of indicated that networks have to be, quote unquote, sufficiently decentralized for it not to be a security.
Correct.
Right. That was the whole, quote unquote, the Hinman speech.
Yeah.
The speech is not law. So Bitcoin's a different category here. We're talking about,
Correct.
with your tokens, they're tied to gold miners somewhere, or oil rigs somewhere.
Well,
So there's some centralization there, right?
Well, not necessarily. It is. I wouldn't say tied. It's supported by, right? It's supported by these real world assets that are out there. Would be the key phrase there. And again, this is not IX Global here, so I'm representing a product that's out there. But just to be clear, IX Global because it was sold through IX Global, did not make it centralized. We were one of their vendors. They sold through multiple different channels around the world, retail channels, direct to consumer direct to, if you want to call them investment or accredited investments, just kind of similar to the Ripple case, right? They had programmatic sales, they had accredited investor sales, and different. And the judge went through and ruled on each one of those kind of individually, because each one of those was kind of a different scenario. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking at here, is like, okay, well, we represented the product the best we could. We had all of our disclaimers out there as far as what it really was. So even if somebody was pitched, hey, this is an overnight ATM machine and it's going to spit you out this, and you're going to be a 1000% this and that XYZ, which we know in the network marketing space, unfortunately, that happens. We set up everything. We had everything, Kevin, from KYC. So we had the same KYC software that Coinbase and Binance uses, that they had to go through and actually, so we weren't allowing like multiple positions or anything of craziness of that, right? They purchased a node license software from us. They activated it with Debtbox. So we're a reseller is what we were, right?
So what you're saying is this is Debtbox's issue, not really IX Global's.
Well,
it's kind of what you're getting at.
Exactly, because I can't defend their business model. I have been given sufficient information since the beginning to feel comfortable with selling the software and selling the hardware. And so that would be unfortunately, that's the answer that I have to take, because I cannot go out there and defend the inner workings of Debtbox or the Debt Council. I could, but I'm not as versed up on it, and I
completely understand. And I've read the motion to dismiss and it's very well written, and you've got great lawyers. The key seems to be that software itself can't be considered a contract, an investment contract, and it's an interesting legal argument. But back to what I was saying, these software licenses were purchased, and they cranked out tokens based on, and the token value was tied to what these other, let's call them things, oil rigs, gold mining, whatever those things produced, supported the value of the tokens.
Well, in a way, yes, but at the same time, it's a free market. It's a free market. So who sets the price? It's the actual.
But I thought the price is supported by the asset.
Well, it's not. Okay, so it's supported by the underlying asset. That's true, because that provides liquidity. However, the overall, who controls the prices, who are the token holders? Are they willing to hold, or are they willing to sell? Just the same way any type of financial, a Bitcoin is the same exact thing. The only thing with Bitcoin is what actually backs Bitcoin: speculation, right? Financial, at this point, institutional money trying to come into the market. And when there's mass adoption, well, that's when Bitcoin price started to go from speculation and just it being a backdoor alley type of, transaction, to more of like, hey, well, if you go back and look at the charts, right, when it went from 13,000 all the way up to 60,000, one of the catalysts was PayPal came in and said they were going to start, utilizing Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff.
Information driven. I get it, but let me ask you here, because these tokens are tied to assets. So why would somebody speculate that the token is worth more than the underlying asset itself?
I think when you use the word tie, it makes it sound like it's tied to exactly like the barrel. It's not tokenizing like a barrel of oil or a gram of gold, right? Yeah. What it's doing is it's taking royalties from a project, whether that's a gold project or a oil rig, and that a percentage of those royalties go into the support of the blockchain ecosystem.
Got it.
So that's the way I would look. It's a small little nuance, but I think it's an important nuance, because it's not the tokenization of gold. It's not the tokenization of oil. It's not the tokenization of real estate. It's a token that is supported by royalties that come out of that.
Yeah, understood. This is a dumb question. I'm sure you've gotten this a lot over the past year when you were selling this product, but if people want exposure to oil, why not buy an ETF? What made the token superior over just traditional products that are already available and trustworthy?
This would be my own opinion. So this is just my own.
And I'm a crypto guy. I love crypto. Yeah. I think RWA, real world asset, that's the thing today.
Yeah. No, it's the next trend. And I think that's, one of the reasons that we got involved in is because it's one of those next, people are really now starting to understand the tokenization of assets, real world assets on blockchain. And, this is something we've already been doing for a year and a half at this point.
What makes your token superior to an ETF?
So I wouldn't say it would be superior. What I would say, it's a lot more, and this is me, I'm not a financial advisor or anything, right? But crypto, there's a lot more flexibility in what we're doing. A lot of our customer base and distributors are outside of the US, getting them through regulatory compliance with a US based broker. A lot of them don't even accept them. A lot of them they're underbanked. This is really taking an opportunity to the people that need it. My wife is from Peru. She, grew up on less than $250 a month in income. And when you go into these homes, these are dirt floors, no roof over the head. But guess what? They have a smartphone. They have a 50-inch, TV, and all of them are looking for the Western lifestyle. The number one movie in Peru is the number one movie in the US. If it was a Marvel movie at the time, guess what? Everybody's going to watch that same movie around the world. And so the world has changed dramatically over the last 15 years. When I was going to these countries, in Peru, traveling down there to build my business, or Colombia or Chile, like we were in the trenches, we were in the homes, we were, doing everything that we could do to help these people make money in traditional product-based companies, traditional, even just services. And at the end of the day, you start to realize like these people are not going to make it. $250 a month for them in an auto ship is a crazy amount of money. That's like asking an American to spend $5,000 a month, their entire base salary on a product, on a business, on an
Can I summarize? You're saying you're trying to democratize access to financial products.
Yeah.
And you might not use the word financial products, but you're trying to democratize access.
Yes. Yeah.
To things that they can't access in their current country. That's kind of a point in favor of stable coins, right? That's a discussion right now about stable coins and why they're not bad.
Yeah.
If you're in Argentina, you can own USDC and protect your purchasing power.
Correct.
Did you suspend operations in these foreign markets?
As far as like the sale of product, with the product, yeah, it's global right now. For right now, yeah.
So the suspension's global.
Yes.
Okay. And the people that own these tokens still had value. I would imagine.
Correct.
They could liquidate and I noticed there was a crash the day the suit happened, but then it recovered because I'm thinking these tokens are tied to, and I keep saying the word tied. I know you disagree with that word, but they're supported by real assets. Yeah.
And the thing about it is the reason that it hasn't, in my opinion, knowing, and you probably can look at this, Kevin, and read through it, is, we got the TRO dissolved. However, because even the judge said it, we are in uncharted territory with the receivership. And the receivership didn't affect IX Global, so we're kind of operations as normal, right? But the Debtbox side, they had all of they were basically, they were frozen out of everything. The company was running, the receiver, I should say, was running the companies, and into obviously it's like into the ground, right? If somebody came in,
that's what they do. Yeah.
And so the order from the court was 48 hours for a transition plan. It's 2 weeks later. Not 100% of the stuff's been turned over yet. There's a lot, because there are real world things that have happened. There's been roughnecks, the oil riggers that were not paid for 3 weeks or a month. Guess those guys aren't waiting around. There's been a lot of theft on some of the rigs. There's been parts that they have to reorder. There was a pipeline for one of the pipelines in Oklahoma that was never paid for, thus it was never delivered. And oil wells were just sitting there. And I don't know the technical terms, but essentially when they're not running, the water and the oil starts to separate, and you have to go through this whole process to get them up and running again. And so it's going to be a 2 to 3 month process to get everything back up and working again, to where the physical side of whether it's the mining operations or the exploration operations are back up and normal, because at this point there hasn't been a handoff. It's kind of been it's like, it's going back and forth, and there's a couple debates on different things that have happened throughout the receivership of, what should happen, what should not happen.
Yeah. I want to ask you what you said. Once things are back operational on the Debtbox side, it sounds like they're not selling new nodes. That's not happening.
At this moment in time, they're not. No.
Okay, and then maybe they can, because I think the injunction's lifted. They could.
Correct.
But currently they're not. So what you're saying here, getting these I call them things, the oil rigs or whatever, gold mining, those come back online, that would further support the underlying the current token holders.
Correct.
Yeah. We're not really worried about future token holders. We're worried about the current holders. This is a dumb question, but since they're not selling anymore, what money is running these? What do you call them? The rigs and the natural gas and the gold. The underlying thing. The
underlying assets.
What money is being generated to support these things going forward?
And I think that's the great thing about this is it's going to be a temporary pain. Obviously getting back control of the companies, getting out of the receivership, but a lot of these, you go through the complaint from the SEC, and they talk about how they couldn't support this or they couldn't do this. Well, a lot of them, the model that DEBT had is what I consider kind of like the Uber or the Airbnb model, right? It was not to own anything, but to get a percentage of everything type of, model. Uber doesn't own any vehicles, but they make a percentage of every ride that is given through their platform. Airbnb owns no properties, but they're probably one of the biggest property management companies in the world. So the idea was, debt wasn't going in, and in some cases, yes, it had more ownership in different projects and others, but a lot of the ones were already operational businesses. And all debt was doing was coming in with their technology, coming in with business experience, coming in with liquidity, and helping current business. It's venture capitalism, if you think about it.
Finance those
They come in
businesses.
and
Yeah.
you come and make something better. If I'm able to make you more profitable, hey, if you're making an extra 25 cents, can I make a nickel off of that? You stay with 20.
But they're doing that with third-party money, and that's why the word investment comes in. And
Mhm.
I know we're staying away from that language, but that's where the customers are putting money in, and that money is then being taken to further these projects. And I want to ask you kind of a harder question. So when you were exploring this concept, you got some favorable opinions from lawyers, but you also got some warnings. And I'm not going to ask you who said what and whatever, but some lawyer somewhere told you about the risk, and you, for whatever reason, and look, I'm a lawyer. People don't listen to me all the time. It happens. It's part of the business. But you're aware of the risk, and that risk. Do you think it was disclosed to your customers?
In every single disclaimer, yeah, 100%. I could read you on every single disclosure. It says,
not the standard disclaimer that, hey, you can lose your money if you buy this thing. I'm saying, like, hey, this as a concept, this thing could be challenged. And the SEC is in crypto, it's new, and did your customers fully appreciate that kind of risk?
I believe so, because that was even one of the questions. If you refer back to the SEC's complaint, and one of the misrepresentations that they made to the judge was, one of the questions that actually got highlighted in the last hearing was a person, I'm assuming they were US based, asked, does the SEC have any jurisdiction over the layer one? So to be specific, it was talking about the layer one blockchain. And they were asking about, does this take the risk of the SEC coming in out of the picture? And so a lot of people were aware of it. I think the disfavorable opinions that we got from any type of lawyers out there is because, they just cautioned us to stay away from anything crypto, not just the business model. They wouldn't even kind of look at it because that's not their forte. That was not their specialization. They just knew, hey, the SEC's enforcement, it's
Crypto
a risk.
and MLM. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all it would be, right? It wasn't like they didn't actually go down and look at the nuances of, hey, could we stand up and could we defend this if we needed to? And,
but as you've learned, if you're in this position, defending it is still a very tough position to be in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the risks that we took on. But again, getting back to that's our mission, right? Democratize finance, as you said it, and help these people around the world, because an extra $250 in Peru is life-changing.
I get it. Yeah. Well, there's an expression, I don't know if we can say it in 2023, but it's the pioneers that end up with the arrows in their back.
It's true. Well, and it's funny you say that, right? Because one of the things when all these allegations come out, it's like, I've been in this industry 15 years now. I have a lot of friends and frenemies, as you might consider them. And this industry is run by, unfortunately, sometimes a certain group of people, and we just kind of steered away from that. We wanted to kind of just raise the bar. There's been no outside investments from, any type of investor into IX Global. It's 100% owned by myself and my silent partner and my boss, my wife. And we've done that because we've been able to control the message. We've been able to pay out what we want to pay out. We've been able to do the things that we want to do. We've been able to help family members through whether the compensation plan or the potential that the product has. So there's a lot of things that have helped us kind of just raise the bar. But we have got a lot of arrows in our back once this came out, because a lot of people were just waiting for us to fail. The people that you thought might be there to support you weren't there. Some have turned their backs. Some, don't answer phone calls anymore. And it's kind of sad to see, because we're in the same industry. It's like, hey, well, did they do something wrong? Let's first check that out. If not, like, let's offer our support. The Nerium FTC, investigation that got concluded recently, a huge, at least there's some more insight of how judges are looking at our industry. And I've taken some of those things that have been said there, some of those frameworks, and I looked at it and I said, oh, we actually have already been implementing things like this, like the KYC, the IBO fees, a KYC compliance module that they have to go through and test out.
I get it. You mind if I jump in? You mentioned Nerium, and I thought about this. Jeff Olson got a lot of support when the lawsuit was filed. And so what you're saying indicates to me that you're surprised at the lack of support.
Yes.
And I'll say that there's a difference in that Nerium is a very traditional company that everybody knew was clean, and it was shocking. I think a lot of your competition saw you guys selling a product that spits out, let's just say, assets, money, and they said that's kind of unfair competition. That's not real, quote unquote, network marketing. I'm not speaking for anybody, but that's why you didn't get the flood of support when you were sued. I think a lot. I'll be candid. I wasn't surprised when I saw the lawsuit, and you've got some good, and your lawyers have good technical arguments of why this isn't a security. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to what's the consumer expectation. They buy something, they hope it goes up in value. Sometimes it's that simple. I'm not saying that argument that I just said is going to prevail. I'm not saying you're going to win or lose. But the general network marketing community, I would imagine, said, well, hey, here we are selling skincare and health and wellness and doing it the hard way, and these guys are selling assets.
Yeah.
And you guys had a lot of growth. That might explain why, there wasn't just a flood of support.
Yeah, it could be, and I don't think a lot of my people were, I wasn't looking for support from the skincare realm, but more from, the people are in the financial education space and different, and it's neither here nor there. It just kind of shows me where, the industry is. We automatically started getting poached, our leaders getting, calls and offers from other similar companies, whether from, non-US based companies out of Dubai or companies out of, Latin America, or even US based companies here in Utah. And so just kind of see where their loyalties lie. So that's neither here nor there. I just I just find it surprising that, we're in this industry together. I don't think, anybody, just like we're doing this interview, could have called me and said, Joe, kind of, hey, what is it you guys are doing? How are you guys doing it differently? And how is it that, that you guys are getting through this? And I've had multiple people that have started their own companies out of Latin America, people that have wanted to join my company. And we've just kind of steered away from any type of leadership that wasn't going to fit with our culture.
Yeah.
And so, and I've given that advice. I kind of showed them and told them how it was working. And at the end of the day, obviously, it is a risk. I think we're on the tail end of it with all the other litigation that's going on, with all the other crypto cases. There has to come a point in the near future where Congress steps in and gives some clarity. And when I say near future, I don't know if that's 6 months or 6 years. So I'm not saying anything on that, right? But I just kind of feel
you and
like
I agree on that. Congress is dysfunctional on the issue, and crypto does have some allies. It also has some really powerful enemies. Elizabeth Warren being the most powerful enemy in the space. So currently, you guys have a travel membership that's part of your program.
We are in the process of launching it. Yeah.
Okay. Which is great, and I love travel.
Yeah,
it's a great product. Suppose there's a new participant out there, and they've got other choices for travel in our space, but you guys have this SEC litigation overhead. Why should they disregard that risk and join your business?
I don't think they should disregard it. I think they should weigh it heavily. I think they should weigh the product offering or service offering that is out there. I would look at it from a consumer endpoint. At that point, does this travel club versus that travel OTA, which one offers me the most, customer centric benefit? And then from there, because not everybody should be joining the travel club because they're trying to build a business. And so at the end of the day, if the travel club went away tomorrow, what am I out $80 for that month? Or, do I still have my points? The travel club is not tied to IX Global's MLM either. So even if IX Global went away tomorrow, they would still be able to have their travel benefits. They'd have their loyalty points. They'd have their trips and whatever else accumulated, because again, that's the model that we set up. We know that MLMs are a high risk business, especially in the digital space or digital financial services. So everything that we've set up has been to where if IX Global went away tomorrow, could the product continue without IX Global? And the answer to every one of our products is yes. Even with Debtbox, like if we were the one to get attacked and a meteorite hit my house or something happened, because it's on the blockchain, people continue to withdraw their token and get their value for it. If the same thing happened with the travel club, or something happened to IX Global, the travel club continues without us. So
yeah,
I would at that point, it's just like, which travel club is better for you? Which travel benefits are better for you as the end consumer?
understood. When are you guys rolling that out, or hope to roll it out?
It's so we got a pre-launch party in Cancun, December 10th through the 15th. So we're kind of right now aiming for that. We have a lot of integrations to do because that travel club comes as well with an organization with it as well, that will be bringing into our company, and we will, service that community, service our current IX Global community as far as the network marketing side. We'll continue to build our compensation plan. We'll continue to use our IX Global back office. We'll continue to build around the world and implement different ideas and concepts that will take travel to the next level. We really want to technologically enhance travel, take travel social, if you will, be able to have people connect with their tribes or identity-based trips, whether that's people for foodies or yogis or whatever else of concepts that are out there, and help people connect instead of on an offline, the high-tech side of things, be able to meet up in resorts around the world and hang out and go on different experiences together.
Has this litigation overhang affected your operations, like credit card processing, banking? I remember when BK Barico went through this, and he had a long history of great service for his customers, and then credit cards were locking them out.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great things about where we're at is with technology is the short answer is yes, but there's a but. And that's where crypto has come in. And crypto 10 years ago, if you try to save a company like Vima on try to say Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was out back then, it might have been one of the newest things, but you could not get people to buy Bitcoin at that point. So with crypto, you're able to actually service a lot of your community. It's a little bit harder, obviously, because you don't have auto ships and different things like that. But at the end of the day, some people, that's what they like about it. You get to control when you send the company money. It's not a subscription auto ship. There's a lot of people out there that, hey, they might buy this month, next month they don't, next month they do, type of thing. Yeah. And so those are the markets that we worked in the entire time, from India to Peru to Chile to Mexico. And it's worked out for us quite a bit. And I've been doing this, been 15 years. And one of my fortes have actually been merchant processing, pay in and pay out, because 3 commitments that I made to every one of my leaders, every one of my brand ambassadors is, number 1, we're going to deliver a good quality product or service that you can put your name behind. Number 2, we're going to pay your commissions and pay them on time. And number 3, we're going to keep the lights on. And so those things are the only thing that I have to do as an owner. Everything else is lipstick and makeup and marketing and websites, all that stuff my team can handle. the brand ambassadors, the leaders can handle. But that is to say, I've been doing this over a decade as far as pay in and pay out. I have a lot of very close relationships that they don't look at the news. They look at it, but then they see the reality of what it is and they're willing to work with us. And that's what's happened to us over the last 90 days.
When I've had clients accept crypto as a method of payment and they also pay out in crypto, it does sound easy and convenient, but there's some accounting burdens. Are you guys able to automate that where you're tracking the revenue and you're also able to 1099 folks?
Yeah, because we're doing primarily stable coins.
Yeah.
So again, we're not dealing with fluctuations. It's 1-to-1 in most cases, might be 0.003 fluctuation type of thing. So yeah, there hasn't been any issues as far as accounting. And yeah, we just stick to stable coins. It's just the easiest thing to do for that in that sense.
Yeah. I see the situation you're in, and it reminds me you guys are in better shape than Savion, but Savion was accused of fraud. And even the fraud allegation in your case didn't make sense to me, right? There's either an oil rig somewhere or there's not. And I thought that was a massive overreach. And shame on the SEC for doing that. Without having clear proof, but they made the allegation. But there's also the issue of the unregistered security, which we touched on that a little bit, whether this thing is an investment of money with an expectation of passive returns. So you could prevail on the fraud allegation, but ultimately lose, you hope not, on the unregistered security issue. But if that's a loss down the road, it's like a tsunami that's there. And you know it's going to hit, and you hope it doesn't hit the mainland, but it might. I guess game plan that for me. Are you thinking that far in the future? What if there's a penalty here on this past life of yours? Can the business continue and support distributors and operate if there's a judgment?
So I think now,
I'm sorry. One more point. Back to Savion. They won the fraud allegation. They lost on the unregistered security. They had to pay a fine, but they were able to outrun that tsunami because they had enough money to pay it. Right. So if you guys have enough money, you're fine, but help me think through that for you.
Yeah, it's obviously an unknown because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think we are prepared for any possibility that may hit, whether that's the SEC getting sanctioned, like the judge has considered in the TRO hearing, or if it is, this thing going to full trial and us having to, go out and defend the position of the security and the software not being a security, at least not in any case that I know of. And so I think we can weather any storm right now as a company. It's a little bit right now about diversification for us to have a strong product offering. That's the one thing that I can shore up without, the SEC being involved. And that's what we're doing through travel. We're doing through a couple other, things that we'll be launching here in the near future. But to answer your question, it's like the unknown of what that could be if the SEC potentially won. We don't know what any of the fines could be as far as the amounts, because there's a lot of negotiations that could go into that as well. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I do feel comfortable that we'd be able to, like I said, weather any storm if fines needed to be paid or we needed to go that route.
Joe, that's all I got. You got anything you want to talk about? Good news, crypto's pumping today. I know you're a fan. I'm a fan. And actually, I stake Ethereum. I believe in the ecosystem, and I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we're just trying to do something, good. I think this is going to be a very expensive validation and verification process for us. I do think, at the end of the day, the fraud allegations, and by the way, IX Global wasn't alleged of any fraud. It was some other defendants,
Debtbox.
but but I do think they will beat all of the allegations, because I've had a lot, and I've been very public about it from day one, sharing my screens with documentation and different things that were not included in the complaint. And so I do have one question, Kevin, and I don't know if it's going to be a controversial. It's just one.
Ask it.
Okay. So, I think I know what would happen to me if I lied to a federal judge, or I misrepresented, or I made false statements to a federal judge. But what happens to a lawyer, or what happens even to a agency regulator if they make false representations to a judge?
They get sanctioned.
And obviously I don't even know what that really means.
Me neither.
And I guess there's multiple different tiers.
You've got good New York counsel that would know the answer to that if they lie to a court. But you know what though, these guys get away with it because they can play dumb. We saw it in Vima. When they got the TRO, they said the vast majority of Vima's revenue comes from auto ship, or I'm sorry, comes from new starter packs. Okay, and they said that, and so therefore the thinking is, well, this business depends on constant recruitment. If recruitment slows down, then they don't have enough money to go. That was false. And it was actually less than 8% of Vima's revenue was starter packs. There's no consequence. So it really depends on the court. And what we're seeing now, regardless of what people think of Trump, a consequence is the lower level courts have changed. There's a lot of conservative justices out there that really, they just don't read the script of the federal government. They want to see proof. And in my opinion, that's a positive. So if you caught these attorneys red-handed lying, and not just being stupid is not illegal, or being misinformed is not illegal, but they purposely lied, I would think there's going to be a consequence for that.
Well, and I hope maybe we can do a follow-up to this, as time goes on and the case progresses, because I'm hoping, I just look at this and I keep telling my lawyers is if this was just a private party that came with me with these allegations because they felt defrauded or whatever the case may be, and they were proven to not be, that all of their representations were false, I just feel, and I'm not a lawyer, but there'd be a heck of a countersuit coming their way for, tens of millions of dollars in losses, damages. And
I don't know how that works. Like Naora would have a claim. Naora would have a claim against the FTC. I don't know how that works.
And that's where my question is, like, just because these regulators come knocking these days does not mean it's a death sentence for a company anymore. There's a lot of, and it could be the case.
With network marketing, it's different because it's trust and relationships and brand, and generally the field, if given two choices, and a lot of your leaders would agree with this, if given two choices of a company that sells a product, they're going to choose the company that's not being sued.
Correct.
And so I'm going to push back, and that this isn't, it's not like Ripple, and Ripple won, but did they? It's a Pyrrhic victory because it took years and years, and it really hurt their efforts. But I get what you're saying. The SEC, if I were to play devil's advocate and try to put myself in their shoes, and that's hard to do because I do think there's overreach. Clearly there's overreach. It's insane. They're trying to make sure that capital flows in a healthy direction. They want money flowing into functioning businesses where investors have full disclosure on risk, and the economy grows. They don't want money flowing into meth labs, right? So they have an interest to steer capital. That's what their job is. And here, just based on my observation, and I'm not going to agree with the SEC, capital is flowing to commodities. I get what Debtbox was trying to do. So it's not like capital is being vaporized. It's not like OneCoin. So I personally, they would have been better off if they led with a subpoena and just asked you freaking questions.
Yeah.
Instead of
Well, and that's the part that gets me, right, is because all of this was ex parte. So we weren't there when any of this happened.
It's bullshit.
It's caused, you know, tens of millions in damages. It's caused health issues for my lovely wife. She probably won't like that I'm saying that on Facebook right now. But it's caused a lot of emotional harm to those closest to us, to those that depend on us. When all we were trying to do was to do something good. Was it, you know, innovative, and could it be argued either way? That's not my job to do right now. And I feel like we made all of the disclosures that we needed to, the disclaimers that we needed to. But at the end of the day, we're here. There's no going back. We can talk about the past all we want. The only thing I could say is, you know, us moving forward, IX Global, we're going to continue to offer the best products possible, the best services possible at the best prices possible, with hopefully the best compensation possible, and really, you know, learn from this and protect this to continue to build a legacy. And in 3 years, in 5 years, time will tell, you know, where we're at. And I do feel, you know, the company, like I said, can weather this storm, and we will be here for the long term. You know, we're past the point of failure, and not statistically, but just in the way things are run, the way that we have the company set up, we can continue to operate. We can continue to onboard more vendors, more product providers, more brand ambassadors, teams, and there is a lot of markets out there that will hopefully see what's happening within the US. And I have a lot of international communities that are rallying behind us because they see that it's in most cases overreach, and they are supporting us, especially now that the TRO has been lifted. So
a challenge that you read into is that too many kids have peed in the pool in this space and in our industry. There hasn't been a single company do it well.
Yeah.
Bit Club, for example.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then that was, you know, all the cloud mining concepts that have come and gone. And that's a mining service, but there wasn't really mining happening for Bitcoin.
Correct.
So they've seen so much fraud, they just assumed.
Yeah.
When they saw your program, when really they should have sent a subpoena and at least asked. And even if it's not on the up technically,
mm-hmm.
They could have helped you on a path forward. You could have negotiated a penalty, like a speeding ticket, and you know, skipped out on all of this scorched earth strategy that they did.
Yeah.
So I get it. That's unfortunate, but I wish you well, and
thank you.
Commend you for communicating and fighting through. I tell you, the CEO matters, because a lot of CEOs, they shrivel up and die. So you might be able to outrun this wave that's coming, and that'd be a pretty cool story.
I think we will. And only time will tell, right? It could be 12 months, 24 months. It could be next week. We don't know what's going to happen. What the judge decide.
They should settle. SEC should settle if they're smart.
Yes, I believe they should. So we'll keep you updated, and we'll be here, and we'll be building, and we're doing the only thing we know how to do is working and providing value, and, you know, helping our community survive. So I appreciate the opportunity, Kevin. And I just kind of say, you know, it's been a privilege to be on here with you, and to be able to debate with you back and forth on some different topics via Facebook, but more than that, to be able to get on here and have a conversation. It's been really enlightening, and appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for coming on.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
See you, Joe.